Okay, here's a thought. What if many of the big killers, the leading causes of death, weren't actually inevitable?
Hmm.
Welcome to the deep dive. You send us sources, we dig into them for the key insights.
And today we're looking at How Not to Die by
Hmm.
Dr. Michael Greger. It's all about that powerful link between, well, what you eat and how healthy you are.
Exactly. And Dr. Greger, he's a physician, founder of nutritionfacts.org. He's really zeroed in on plant-based nutrition based on the science.
He certainly has. His work is pretty rigorous.
So our mission today really is to unpack the core arguments in this book. What's the evidence say? And more importantly, what are the practical steps you can actually take based on this to, improve your health through diet?
And the book itself is structured quite logically for that. Part
Yeah.
one digs into the science, lifestyle, disease, that connection.
Right.
And then part two gets really practical. How to live healthier, including this thing he calls Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen.
We'll definitely get into that daily dozen. But first, there's this really powerful personal story that kind of set him on this path, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. His grandmother. She had end-stage heart disease,
Wow.
given just weeks to live, I think.
Yeah, basically sent home to die.
Exactly. But she found Dr. Nathan Pritikin, switched to this very simple plant-based diet and lifestyle program.
And the turnaround was just incredible, wasn't it?
Astonishing. From a wheelchair to walking 10 miles a day. And she lived for another, what, 30 years?
30 years. It's no wonder that lit a fire under him to focus on nutrition. Okay, so let's dive in.
The place to start, I think, is Dr. Greger's, well, it's a pretty bold central claim. He argues that most deaths in the U.S. are preventable,
Preventable and specifically related to diet.
fundamentally linked to what we're eating, yeah.
He really pushes this idea that nutrition and lifestyle, they aren't just side issues. They can be the main tools for healing, for preventing disease, often without jumping straight to drugs or surgery.
That's a different perspective than we often get.
It really is, which makes you ask, why isn't this like front and center in medicine if the evidence is there?
That's a huge question, and Dr. Greger tackles it directly. He points out this kind of disconnect. The science on nutrition keeps growing, but it doesn't always filter down into, standard medical training or public health policy.
He gives that example from California, right, about the physician training.
Yeah, that's a striking one. A bill proposed just 12 hours of nutrition training for doctors over 4 years,
12 hours, that's it.
and it faced serious opposition. Yet doctors are required to get that same amount of training in things like pain management or end-of-life care.
It does make you wonder about the priorities within the system.
It really does. And he draws this parallel, which I think is quite powerful, to the whole smoking and lung cancer fight.
Ah, right. How long it took to accept that link.
Exactly. Decades of mounting evidence, but industry, pushback, denial. It took ages for policy to actually catch up.
Mhm.
He suggests we're seeing something similar now with the influence of the dairy, meat, and processed food industries.
Which kind of puts the responsibility back on us, doesn't it, as individuals?
It does. If the system isn't fully prioritizing preventative nutrition, then you really have to become your own health advocate. Seek out the information yourself.
So you need to take charge.
Precisely. And that leads to this core idea. Diet isn't just incidental. It's like a primary driver of our health outcomes.
He cites that huge study, the Global Burden of Disease study from 2010.
Right. And its findings were stark. It identified diet as the #1 cause of death and disability in the U.S.
Number one, not smoking, not high blood pressure on its own, but diet.
It's that single factor. It's pretty sobering when you think about the implications for our everyday food choices.
It really is. And the book draws this key distinction, right, between how, say, medication works versus how diet works.
Yes, that's crucial. Medications, generally speaking, tend to manage symptoms. Lower blood pressure, manage blood sugar.
Right. They address the outcome.
Whereas diet, a change in diet, has the potential to address the root cause of the problem itself. It's tackling further upstream.
A fundamentally different approach.
It is. And to get what he's reacting against, you need to understand the standard American diet. SED for short.
Apt acronym, maybe?
Perhaps. But yeah, it's typically characterized by lots of meat, sugars, salt, eggs, dairy, processed stuff.
High in calories, often low in actual nutrients.
Exactly. Energy-dense, nutrient-poor.
Mm-hmm.
And the health risks linked to it are, well, they're the big ones. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, many chronic conditions.
And it's just become so normal.
Very common, unfortunately. But here's a key insight from Dr. Greger. Just cutting back a bit on the bad stuff might not be the most effective strategy.
Oh. So it's not just about avoidance.
Not entirely. He argues the focus should really be on maximizing the good stuff,
Yeah.
actively loading up on the foods that are truly beneficial and protective.
Okay, so shifting the focus.
Which brings us right to the whole food, plant-based diet concept, which sounds maybe more complicated than it is.
Yeah, what does that actually mean in practice?
It's pretty straightforward, really. Prioritizing real food, stuff that grows out of the ground, fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, nuts, seeds, unprocessed or minimally processed.
Focusing on abundance, not just restriction, including more rather than only taking away.
Exactly. And this is where his daily dozen comes in. It's like a practical checklist to help you actually do that.
Okay, the daily dozen. Let's break it down. Where does he start? Fruits?
Fruits, yeah. And specifically, he highlights berries. The recommendation is about 3 servings of fruit a day overall.
With a special nod to berries. Why berry?
Antioxidants, they're packed with them.
Right, antioxidants fight those free radicals, cell damage.
Precisely. They help protect your cells from damage that contributes to aging and, well, a lot of diseases. Berries are antioxidant powerhouses.
And there's specific research, too, not just general benefit.
Oh, yeah. He mentions a study with athletes, for instance. They ate about a cup and a half of blueberries daily.
Oh, okay.
And they saw a significant jump in their natural killer cells after hard exercise. Those are key immune cells.
Wow, okay, so better immune response.
Seems like it. And it might help the brain, too. Another study suggested women who ate more blueberries and strawberries had slower rates of cognitive decline over time.
That's really interesting. No, people always worry about the sugar in fruit.
Yeah, it comes up constantly.
Yeah.
But Dr. Greger points out that in whole fruit, the sugar comes naturally packaged with fiber, water, vitamins, and all those antioxidants and phytonutrients, plant compounds.
So the fiber makes a difference?
A big difference. It slows down sugar absorption into the bloodstream. It's totally different from, say, drinking fruit juice or eating candy with refined sugars.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. What's next on the list? Veggies?
Vegetables, yes. 5 servings a day total. And he emphasizes getting at least 2 servings of leafy greens specifically.
Leafy greens like kale, spinach, arugula, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Chard, collards too, they're incredibly nutrient dense. Lots of nutrition for very few calories.
And other veggies count too.
Oh, absolutely. He also highlights cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. Recommends at least 1 serving of those daily.
And wasn't there that study about broccoli and smokers? That sounded pretty dramatic.
That's the one. Longtime smokers who ate a good amount of broccoli, like a cup or more a day, showed significantly fewer DNA mutations.
Fewer mutations? That's huge.
It points to some serious protective effects from these vegetables. And again, he stresses, this is from the whole food.
Not just popping a supplement.
Right. Supplements generally don't replicate the complex synergy you get from eating the actual broccoli with all its interacting compounds. He even gives a shout out to broccoli sprouts, super potent and inexpensive.
Broccoli sprouts. Okay, noted. Next up, beans.
Legumes.
Beans, yes. 3 servings daily.
3 servings, that sounds like quite a lot of beans. It might sound like it, but a serving isn't huge. Like a quarter cup of hummus counts as a serving. Or half a cup of cooked beans, lentils, chickpeas, whatever.
Okay, half a cup. That's more manageable.
And he points out, canned beans are super convenient. Just give them a good rinse to get rid of most of the added salt. Lentils are great too, cook up really quickly.
Good practical tips. All right, grains.
Whole grains, 3 servings a day here too.
So things like brown rice, oats.
Exactly. Brown rice, whole wheat pasta, quinoa, millet, oats, even popcorn air popped, ideally. He also makes the point that more colorful grains often mean more antioxidants.
Ah, interesting. And he warns about labels, right? Like multi-grain.
Yeah, don't be fooled by multigrain or stone ground. Those don't guarantee it's whole grain. You want to see the word whole listed first in the ingredients.
Why is whole so important?
Because processing often removes the bran and germ. That's where most of the fiber and many nutrients are. Whole grains digest slower. Less impact on blood sugar. It's a big difference.
Okay, so look for whole. Got it. What about nuts and seeds?
Nuts and seeds. Just a small amount daily seems to have big benefits. He suggests about a quarter cup of nuts or maybe 2 tablespoons of seeds.
And he makes a pretty strong claim about lifespan.
Yeah, he suggests that small daily serving might significantly increase lifespan. Nuts and seeds are packed with healthy fats, fiber, minerals.
And something called phytates.
Phytates, right. These often get a bad rap, but Dr. Greger highlights their benefits. They can actually help remove excess iron, act as antioxidants, maybe even help bone density.
Huh. Okay. Any specific nuts he calls out?
He mentions walnuts seem to be particularly beneficial overall, and that interesting finding about pistachios potentially helping with erectile dysfunction.
Oh, there you go. Useful information. Okay. Beyond the big groups, what about herbs and spices?
Often overlooked, but incredibly important,
Sure.
not just for flavor,
More than just taste.
way more. He emphasizes their potent health benefits, like adding just a teaspoon of oregano to your meal can significantly boost its antioxidant power.
A teaspoon? Wow.
And turmeric, of course, with its active compound curcumin. Tons of research on its anti-inflammatory effects, fighting free radical damage, potential roles against various diseases. Basically, be generous with your herbs and spices.
Definitely makes you want to explore the spice rack more. Okay, drinks, beverages.
Hydration is key. Plenty of water. The recommendation is roughly 10-15 cups for men, 8-11 for women daily, but needs vary.
Water first. Anything else?
He does mention potential benefits from coffee, particularly for liver and brain health. And tea, especially green tea, has a wide range of well-documented medicinal effects.
Good to know coffee and tea can fit in. And the last piece of the daily dozen puzzle, it's not food.
It's exercise. Can't separate diet from movement, they work together.
Right. What's a recommendation there?
He suggests aiming for about 90 minutes of moderate intensity activity, like a brisk walk, or 40 minutes of vigorous activity, most days.
Okay, 90 minutes moderate or 40 vigorous. That's a solid amount. Now, looking back at that whole list, fruits, veggies, beans, grains, nuts, spices, exercise, it can feel like a lot.
It definitely can seem overwhelming if you think about doing it all perfectly from day one.
Yeah, like where do you even start?
And Dr. Greger anticipates that. He offers 3 simple strategies to make it easier. Adapt, add, and experiment.
Adapt, add, experiment. Okay, what do those mean?
Adapt is about making simple swaps, like use whole wheat pasta instead of white. Maybe swap lentils for ground meat in a recipe. Small changes to foods you already eat.
Okay, gradual swaps, makes sense. What's add?
Add is just focusing on bringing in more of the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry so much about taking things out at first. Just add a serving of greens to your lunch, snack on some berries, toss some beans into a soup.
Just focus on increasing the healthy foods.
Exactly. An experiment is about mindset. See it as a trial, not a life sentence. Try new foods, new recipes. See what you like. See how you feel. Be curious.
I like that. Less pressure. Adapt, add, experiment. That feels much more doable than a complete overnight overhaul.
He even suggests just trying a primarily plant-based approach for, say, 3 weeks. Just commit to it for that period and pay attention to how your body responds. What changes do you notice?
Let your own experience guide you.
Exactly. So, if we wrap this all up, what's the big picture message from How Not to Die?
I think it boils down to this.
Ah.
A diet focused on a wide variety of whole plant foods. It's not just some fad. There's really strong science suggesting it's a powerful tool for preventing and maybe even reversing many of the chronic diseases we tend to think are just part of aging.
It really empowers you, puts a lot of control over your long-term health back into your own hands through your daily choices.
Absolutely. And the actionable takeaway for you listening has to be, consider the daily dozen. Don't feel you have to do it all at once.
Right. Just pick one thing maybe. Use that adapt, add, experiment idea. Start small, see how it goes. Add a handful of spinach to your smoothie. Try hummus as a snack. Switch to brown rice.
Make one manageable change.
Exactly. And build from there.
Okay, so to leave you with something to really think about, considering all this evidence we've discussed today, what's maybe just one small dietary change you feel genuinely inspired to experiment with starting this week? And just imagine what potential long-term impact could even that one small step have on your health down the road.